What's up, Thumpers? Welcome back to another episode of Hyper Heroes here on Hyper Rabbit Power Go. This is going to be a crazy episode because we are going to talk about Spider-Man, the whole deal, what's been going on. And on top of that, I was at D23 today, and as we all know, there were some really amazing announcements made at D23, an expansion of Disney's or Marvel Studios Phase 4 on Disney+.
Yeah.
As of now, the movie panel has not happened yet. We're recording this on Friday night. Movie panel is Saturday at 10 a.m. Will there be more movies announced? Possibly.
Yeah.
Most likely.
It's very, very possible.
Yeah.
Kevin Feige, you know, as good as he is, he likes to always, you know, tease people and throw people off. And at Comic-Con, he said, you know, when I announced Phase 4, or when I made these announcements at Comic-Con, this was Phase 4. This is Phase 4. We don't plan on, we don't, like, that's the plan for right now. Could it change? Of course, like it did when we announced Phase 3.
No trust for you.
That's
Liar.
pretty smart. That's pretty smart.
So it's very possible that we could get more movies tomorrow morning, but, you know, we're not there yet, so we don't know. But we got 3 amazing new shows.
Yeah.
The big topic that we're going to be talking about primarily is going to be the whole fallout between Sony and Disney and the Spider-Man deal, which I think we're all equally pretty heartbroken about for various reasons. And there's been a lot of also confusion and conflicting things on the internet because one studio has made a statement, and it's mostly been about sort of like the mischaracterization of what's been happening,
Right.
and how the internet. There's
And
just
the other studio, Disney, hasn't
said
responded,
anything,
which I think feeds into
Yes.
people blaming Sony.
Right.
Yes.
And also, like, a lot of young people on the internet that
Yes.
are not as
Who don't
well
know.
informed. And there's definitely older people and people our
Yes.
age that are also uninformed, misinformed. But
I agree.
I clicked on the hashtag save Spider-Man from Sony. I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Don't you got to be kidding me that this is a hashtag. Clicked on it.
Yeah.
And it was mostly like Tumblr-esque posts of like pictures and GIFs of young people, not even their own photos in the avatar, but like photos of Zendaya and
Of
Tom
course.
Holland
Right,
being like,
right.
being like, Tom Holland worked so hard and now they're taking
Yeah.
Spider-Man away from it. And I'm
Right.
like, oh, you have no idea what's happening.
You don't know what's happening at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So before we get into anything, I just want to remind you guys, if you like this video, make sure you guys hit that like button down below. Subscribe for all the latest videos that we're doing. I did something different. I experimented with last week's show. I broke it up into parts just to see how the videos would perform. People freaked out about it. It's not permanent. It's just testing. You know, it's something that we're just trying to do to figure out and always kind of like work with the YouTube algorithm. So relax.
Don't
It's
lie.
fine.
You know that Sony took us over.
Yeah, Sony took us over. They brought us out. Facts, y'all. Facts.
Don't lie.
Also, we do have a Patreon. If you support the Patreon, it allows us to grow and do all kinds of crazy and amazing things. We just did a commentary for The Matrix. We're going to have a new commentary next month. We'll put a poll out at the beginning of the month. And, you know, if you support that, helps us grow. You know the drill. Just go to patreon.com/hyperrpg.
It was a fun commentary, and then the
was.
day after, it was like Matrix
Matrix
4.
That
That
was
was so
happening.
cool.
So I was like,
that was way cool.
I don't know about you guys,
Yeah.
but I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
I was so ready for
I went
it.
on Twitter. I was like, by the way, speaking of Matrix 4,
Yeah,
we did a
check
commentary
this
for The
out.
Matrix.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it was
yeah.
so cool to like rewatch that classic movie,
Yeah.
and then see that news, and it made me want to rewatch Matrix 2 and 3 and
Yeah.
the Animatrix
Yeah,
for
now
sure.
I kind of
Yeah.
want
to
do
just
that.
get into it, to be like, to just keep thinking about what could potentially be
The
that
potentiality.
movie, the potentiality of that movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It could be really exciting. I saw somebody in one of the articles that you listed, Adam, talk about how very cynically we're now in an age of Hollywood blockbusters where people care more about Matrix 4 than the next Matrix.
Right?
In terms
Right.
of originality
Yeah.
versus branded IP
Yeah.
and what audiences will shell out the bucks
Yeah.
to go see in
Yeah.
the movie theater.
Yeah.
And I feel like I agree with that sentiment. I get that. At the same time, just to defend that example for a second, like just to defend The Matrix to me is good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I am excited about Matrix 4.
Right.
Versus, but I am also excited about whatever the next groundbreaking
Iteration.
special effects.
Movie will
like,
be.
Yeah,
sure,
yeah,
sure,
yeah.
sure. I'm always excited about the new original stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But just in the specific case of that example, I'm like, but I'm excited about Matrix 4 because I
Yeah.
think it's like very creative and good storytellers are
Yeah,
behind that. So-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Matrix. Just thinking back on what that actually was, it wasn't just the movie The Matrix. It was bullet time. It was
Yeah.
the dark
was a
trench coats,
technological
the
advancement, yeah.
green lit everything, the agents, the utopian world that nobody's
Yeah.
really put onto film. Like, it was a huge shift in cinema history, you
It
could say.
was.
And so to continue on that same path, it's cool. but it kind of is dishonest to what the first film was as far as like this is a new original story, which is why I like the Animatrix so much.
Yeah.
Because everything was its own kind of like version of the Matrix, not necessarily the Keanu Reeves the one kind of situation. So one was like glitches in reality.
Yeah,
one was
I remember there were news that like Michael B. Jordan might be in Matrix 4.
Right.
Yeah, as a young Morpheus.
As a young Morpheus.
Right.
And then there was always talk of like there could be a Matrix Part 4 starring new characters, and I'm like, that's cool.
Right.
And I know a lot of people are excited, especially now after all the John Wick and the Keanu songs of like Keanu's coming back, and I'm like, that's cool too. But I did kind of feel like his story wrapped in Part 3, but maybe I want to go back and rewatch it.
We don't know. Does it turn into a straight up superhero movie at this point? Like what do we do?
And that's just a sample of the commentary that we recorded for the Matrix.
True. Go watch that on the
watch
Patreon.
And listen to that. Yeah.
So let's get into the Spider-Man thing. So before we talk about sort of what's happened.
Before we talk about this, I brought you fruit to make you feel better.
Thank you.
I
also ordered food, and it's coming right now because I haven't eaten since 10 o'clock this morning.
It's going to be such a good night for you.
I'm so hungry right now. I had 3 toffee chips, and that's it.
That's why
they
you
don't
look
have
so
food
hungry.
in Anaheim? What are you doing?
They do.
I literally took a train down to Anaheim, got off, got my badge. I just spit everywhere.
Just parked it.
It's so juicy, guys.
Dude.
It's Mexican fruit with lime, salt, tajin, and love.
So I got on a train, went to Anaheim, went to get my ticket, went to the hall to watch the thing. I was supposed to get on a train. I missed the train. I got in an Uber. I came all the way back here, and now we're here. So that's been my day.
It's been a busy ass
It's been
day.
crazy. So before we get into everything, I'm going to give you a little really quick brief history on the film rights of Marvel. Marvel was going banger up in the late 90s, so they sold off the film rights to a lot of their characters. X-Men went to Fox, along with Fantastic Four, Daredevil, a whole bunch of other things. Hulk went to Universal. Spider-Man, as we know, went and ended up at Sony. They made several films. They made 5 films in total, and then once that was kind of failing, Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal came together and said, like, well, what can we do to ensure sort of the safety and the success of this character leading into sort of like the next generation of superhero movies?
Because they'd worked together, and Kevin Feige was a producer, like an associate producer on the Spider-Man
in the
films
early days,
So they had like a good working relationship. And,
they did.
And came up with that plan, that sort of sharing plan.
Yeah, which I like just called it the Phase 1 plan, I guess. They announced it in 2015. That's when we did our video, when we talked about Spider-Man re-entering or coming home to Marvel, to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Spider-Man is back! Oh no!
Yes! Sorry, guys. Whoa! We got web everywhere.
Get that out of the way. We've been webbed.
Oh my god. Oh, I'm covered.
Covered in
Oh, you assholes. I don't care. I love it. You know why?
Why?
Spider-Man is officially joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe, guys. Woo! Woo!
And the deal included them being able to use Spider-Man in their Marvel Studios movie, which at the time was Captain America Civil War. And in return, Kevin Feige and the team would help Amy Pascal produce the solo Spider-Man movie, which ended up becoming Spider-Man Homecoming. Exactly. Out of that deal, they also agreed that Marvel Studios, a.k.a. Disney, would get 5% first dollar gross, which means that upon its initial release, on the day that it releases, Spider-Man Homecoming, they would get 5% of net profit from the first day. So if it earned $45 million in the first day, they would get 5% of that.
Okay.
If it made $100 million,
and the rest would go to Sony?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So it always gave Sony primary sort of
winnings
from the movies because they were the ones producing the money to finance the movies.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, Disney has always had the merchandising.
Yes.
Since the buy
and they
of
still
Marvel.
own the theme park rights.
Yeah, so that was
TV
included
rights and all that stuff separate.
Yeah,
so
that was
Spider-Man
included
on TV,
in this.
cartoons.
That was included in this deal was the consumer goods for the Spider-Man character.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the brief history as to like what the deal was, where it started, and all that sort of
That deal
stuff.
then expanded to include Avengers Infinity War,
Yes.
Avengers Endgame,
Yes.
for like where Spidey could appear.
Exactly.
So and then it
Which obviously also expanded into Spider-Man Far From Home.
Right. Yes.
And now we get to this place where we're 4 years later. Disney wants to have a new deal where they want to potentially co-finance maybe 50%, maybe 35, maybe 25. It's been really hard to really track down exactly what that number is. It's been conflicting. I've seen 30-70, 25-65, like I've seen, or 25-75. I've seen so many numbers.
It's conflicting because some reports, first of all of these reports, there's nothing official other than like those tweets from Sony.
Yes, exactly.
All of these reports include
from insiders.
Yeah, which is
It's all
like
hearsay.
people keeping their
hearsay.
sources
Yeah.
anonymous, which is part of reporting
Right.
and being able to do that. But it does feel like, okay, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. It's just this weird sort of like fan conjecture that we're all like looking at, and I think that's what leads to nobody knows what's happening in these negotiation deals. Nobody knows. Although I think that I will agree with a lot of people saying the way that everything has sort of come out, officially or unofficially, it seems fishy. It seems a little bit like this is a negotiation tactic, where one studio is trying to put this out there and go, hey, we would love to do it, but
my hands are tied.
But Kevin Feige's too busy, which everyone's like, no, he's not. Like everyone's like, no, he's
if
like
you can manage 15 projects at once,
busiest man on
change.
earth. But then the conflicting reports of that are like, but everybody says that Kevin Feige, like legit as a human, like loves the character of Spider-Man, which is why a lot of this stuff even started. Anyway, it's I think that a lot of people have said this is a part of the tactics is to put that out there and go, hey. What do you guys want to help with negotiation? To help with the fact that now that Disney has remained mum so far, they can then take the hashtag Save Spider-Man from Sony to the negotiation table and be like, look, man, come on. Look at what all the
you don't want this, we don't want this.
Right. Look at what all the fans are now saying because of this. Like it's really cynical to think that in those terms, but it does feel like this leak should not have happened. This, like, how did this news get out of who called the Hollywood Reporter? Who called Deadline?
I mean, honestly, like we've seen just in the last 48 hours, we've seen so many leaks. I mean, I was in line waiting for that Disney Plus panel, and as I'm waiting in line, Miss Marvel's going to get a Disney Plus show. Obi-Wan Kenobi is confirmed. I'm like, I'm not even in the panel yet, and you're already ruining all this.
Because I know that for Miss Marvel, I think that was a Hollywood Reporter exclusive. That they were able to announce that, and then they even said in the article, like, they may announce this at their panel today. But we got the exclusive, and it's like, okay, cool.
If there's anything I learned from Cynthia reads a lot of the tabloid things, and it's interesting because at first I thought it was like, oh, it's like all garbage, right?
Sure.
But what ends up happening is that whenever people appear, like whenever you see people in paparazzi pictures, those things are very much on purpose. Like
I know.
Whenever you see people like all glamour, like coming out of stores or whatever, it looks very natural, but those things are set up by publicists. Those things are set up by the PR team to make a celebrity look a specific way. So
new restaurant open, gotta make you look important.
Not even just a new restaurant, but like, a major event happened in your life. You just got divorced or whatever. Look happy coming out of this restaurant, or look, look good coming from here.
Put your kids in there.
Exactly, throw your kids in there. Let everybody know how wholesome you are. It's like entire PR campaigns that are happening, right? The fact that we don't know where this leak came from, why this information is being released at this particular time, you're right. It sounds fishy. So what I think is that there's some kind of agenda behind this that is yet to develop, and we're not going to see all the pieces until what I'm guessing is going to happen is they're going to be like, oh, they reached a deal. Everything's back to normal.
I know. And, some people were comparing this to the James Gunn thing. I do believe, though, that when people cynically were going, they released that James Gunn got fired just so that they can hire him back and everything will be okay. I disagreed with that. I thought, no, he legit got fired. And they actually they postponed the shooting of Guardians 3. And we were kind of hearing reports, and a lot of people were making assumptions. Kevin Feige and a lot of the creatives at Marvel Studios were unhappy with Disney making that final call. So they're like, okay, no movie. And they sort of held out and sort of postponed and stalled and waited until the appropriate time to be like, okay, Warner Brothers got him. He's doing Suicide Squad.
Exactly.
It's fine.
You called it too, remember?
Let's bring him. Right, let's bring him. And I really feel like that legit happened the way that it happened.
Right,
It was not a publicity stunt.
Exactly.
I felt like, no, that was,
The telling thing for me on that one was Dave Bautista all of a sudden going quiet. Because at first he was like very vocal.
So vocal.
This is bad.
We
can't have this happen. Suddenly nothing. There was no major statement made by the cast because you know that for the most part the cast was behind the decision to keep him.
And they kind of they said that.
Right. And so what I'm guessing is that after all of this happened, the big PR team at Disney was like, look, guys, We're going to get him back. We just kind of need this to blow over, just like you predicted.
Patience.
And then, exactly, patience. Let's have this blow over. We realize it might have been a snap reaction.
Yeah.
Let's go back and work this out again. So I'm guessing this has some of those same tactics that I'm kind of realizing that there's patterns here.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this is more of a publicity play, not even a stunt. Just like a publicity play.
This is how business works.
Exactly. That this is how their business might work, or this is just like
there's a redemption
gauge.
story.
Exactly. It's just like, oh, well, we worked together. Now both companies look great, and so it's like everybody gets what they want at the end of the day.
Yeah, because right now I think they both look bad.
Think about it.
I'm not here to defend Disney as a corporate conglomerate, and I'm not here to defend Sony just to stick it to Disney, just to be like Spider-Verse was cool. It's like, yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
But completely different than what this whole thing is.
Right.
I would say to people watching now, because it does feel a little bit stupid and gross and weird that we've got these great football commentator helmet things on, and we're doing the Monday quarterbacking of like, well, here's what happened. It's like, look, the three of us, we do not know
nothing.
The way
we don't know nothing.
We don't know nothing. The way that the internet really doesn't until whenever this thing gets settled.
Yeah.
You will know what the studio wants you to know.
Exactly.
And I'll say that I think a lot of it's very interesting, and you should be reading up on a lot of it.
Yeah.
As much as you can.
I mean, just alone for this breakdown, we have like 6 or 7 references.
Sure.
Yeah.
Articles.
And a lot of stuff is like conflicts itself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
You know?
I want to point to one specific article written by Mark Hughes, because what he discusses in that, it's for Forbes, is he says that he feels that the way things are going, Sony itself will probably be merging with another company, bought by another company in the next few years.
Maybe.
Potentially
And that
Apple.
what's happening now will ultimately result in the rights to the character of Spider-Man in film are going to revert back to Disney once Sony is sold. So what it is for the next couple of years, 2, 4, 5, however many years, 7, that it's about Sony trying to essentially milk this for as much as they can before
the value goes up.
So that before the company's sold, and that either way, Disney will eventually have the sort of film rights, and that even this version specifically of the character, the Tom Holland version, the live-action version, will still be able to kind of go back if he is taken away from this franchise for a while. The thing that this article breaks down is like, either way, it's kind of a win-win for Disney. But the problem is that if Sony does decide to work with them over the next couple movies, it positions it, as Mark was saying, in a higher echelon of quality, so that if and when Sony gets sold, it's better.
Right.
If they do stuff on their own,
and
they're like, it's cool. We produced Venom. We produced
Venom
Spider-Verse on our own. We got Morbius coming. We know what we're doing.
Oh, don't worry about that.
And Spidey 3 is not as good in tanks. Then it will sort of lower the value. Sony will still be sold, but then what Disney will then inherit is like a lesser, a Spider-Man that they're like, are we going to ignore a movie that wasn't good?
Right.
Are we going to fold that in? Are we those kinds of problems are the things that Mark was sort of breaking down, that eventually at the end game here, and I use that word on purpose, is that Disney's going to get Spidey at some point.
Completely.
But it's about sort of what's happening in the now.
Right.
I think that was a really great article, very interesting article. I also agreed with the thesis of that, which was essentially Spider-Man live action can never be as valuable as a character without being a part of the MCU and where he is right now.
Yeah,
you might disagree with that because you might go, MCU, it's PG-13, it's for babies. It's a bunch of stuff I don't like. Fine, shut up. It still does not.
But the business reality of it.
The reality of it, not just the business side, but like the fandom. The sort of the way that
they made
people,
$1 billion for a reason.
the way that people have embraced that momentum of that character, the way that people, I think even outside of comic book readers, have come to embrace like this character's role in the larger world.
Right.
And for people to sort of argue, hey, look, they did Spider-Man movies before and they were good and they were fine, I think is really missing the point, which is another thing that we can talk about later. But going back to the sort of deal, what else can we say about this deal? What else can we break down? What else can we answer?
Well,
what
I think
else can we say?
one more thing that people might be not connecting the dots yet with is the fact that the new Avengers campus at Disney, which they just announced, is super
California
Spider-Man
Adventure.
heavy. Yes, at California Adventure. The first ride that is going to open is a Spider-Man ride, and it's super Spidey heavy. Like, Disney is not going to get to the point where this character is no longer a part of their cinematic. They can't.
He's
risk
still
that.
on all. He's plastered all over banners at D23.
Exactly. Like
his suits
there.
are on display.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be a point in which the character of Spider-Man, even though it's a featured ride, I'm imagining that like they might get some kind of, they've been testing those animatronic robots that can swing through the air.
Oh yeah.
What I'm guessing is that they're gonna have swinging animatronic robots through that park, dude.
With Spidey suits
You
on.
need to see these YouTube videos. They have these robots that are flying 100 feet in the air, doing flips and landing on like cushions.
So dangerous.
It's dangerous, but
that's gonna
also
land on a
it's,
child.
It's the only way you can get a Spider-Man flying through the air, hitting a pose, and then like swinging through.
Yeah.
You know?
You can't, because humans cannot physically do. Okay.
No, they physically can't. But Disney's
crazy.
developing these robots. So what
I mean, look at Osimo.
Yes. Wait, Osimo.
Yeah, that Honda robot thing. That was.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
No, look at that Beauty and the Beast, the Belle animatronic. Have you seen that?
No.
I think it's somewhere at like a Tokyo Disney ride.
Oh, it's like a
somewhere.
newer
But
one,
she's
right?
like holding
Yeah.
like a lantern, and she's just so fluid, and she's like, "What is it?" And it looks like a mannequin of the Disney cartoon come to life, and you're like, "Dang, that's
That looks
crazy!"
good. Yeah.
So fluid.
So what I'm guessing is that they're already deep in other conversations where Disney is happening. It's just they're not letting us see it, like you said, Adam. They're letting us see what they want us to see, right?
Yeah.
And so we're not getting the whole story. So all of this could change at the drop of a dime.
Sure.
So
you know what else too is that I'm unclear, and I think a lot of these articles are saying it's unclear.
Yeah.
Whether this boils down to like Kevin Feige receiving a producer credit,
Right.
or straight up Sony making a Spider-Man movie that cannot legally mention anything from the MCU. People are like, what does it mean?
How does that connect?
Is it one or the other? Is it, is it just like a behind-the-scenes thing of like, well, Kevin's not going to be a producer, but we're going to keep doing it, but we can still mention Tony Stark, Happy Hogan, Mysterio, like everything, the Avengers.
But it's like we talked about that. It's like the characters of Vulture and Mysterio are so directly tied into Tony Stark and the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes.
How do you make a third movie? I mean, you can make a third movie with a villain that you never mention those, but Mysterio is such an integral part of Spider-Man's next journey.
I'll give you
and
a great
arc.
example. My theory is that the building that was Avengers Tower, that Tony Stark sold in Spider-Man Homecoming, which took place in 2016, and Happy Hogan's like, we sold the building, we got to get out of here, we're moving upstate. My theory is that the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, when he flies through the city, he flies through where that building was located, and there's that little garden in the center. My theory is that that's Oscorp.
Yeah.
And so if they introduce Norman Osborn, can he legally say, I bought this building from Stark? Or are they like, there's no, do you see what I'm saying? It's like, you
I
can't.
don't know.
It's so entrenched
if
in.
that's in a Spider-Man movie, no, you can't if these rules are what they are.
If they are what they are.
Right,
And the thing is we don't know what they are.
Exactly.
We don't know what this deal means.
Yeah.
So
It's tough. It's really tough.
frustrating.
It's very frustrating.
On top,
yeah.
No, I mean, and on top of that, again, going back to conflicting reports and no one really being on the same page, even when it comes to what Disney wanted to offer, initially they wanted to go in 25%, and it wasn't just accumulating 25% of the total revenue. It was, hey, we'll put in 25% of the budget, you put in 75, and then we'll take 25% of the revenue,
back, and
you take 75.
Right.
We can continue collaborating. We
Right,
can have
right,
Spider-Man in our movies. We'll help you make yours.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada. There was one report that said that deal was kind of like on the table for 6 months. Sony never moved on it. So then Disney came back and said like, well, what about 50? You know, and then Disney kind of just shut down and was like, no, we're not interested. So Disney was like, well, we're going to pull out of this.
Right.
Wait, Sony shut down and said we're not interested?
Yeah, like
Disney
we're not
said-
interested in this. Like Tom Rothman seems to be the guy who's kind of like, we can do this without you. We don't need you. And I think famously, a lot of the notes that you put in here, sort of his history with canceling projects and all that sort of stuff.
I had a conversation about this topic with a friend of the show, Cameron Rice. Cameron was telling me about Tom Rothman. He goes, "Do you know about Tom Rothman?" And I was like, "Yeah, the name sounds familiar." And he goes, "Okay,
Sit down.
This is who this." Because here's the other thing: he is a producer who, to his credit, has an insane amount of movies that have won awards. Oscars for Best Picture,
Lots of credits.
hugely grossing. I mean, he was at Fox when Avatar happened, which became the highest grossing film of all time.
right.
Like he has an incredible career that I'm not trying to knock. The thing that is interesting is that the types of movies that I'm more interested in, the types of movies that we tend to talk about, are the ones where Hollywood has in the past screwed him up, and a lot of the times Tom Rothman has been involved in that in those conversations. He was at Fox when, to break it down, he famously, and this is what Cameron Rice was telling me, turned down Ridley Scott doing Alien 5 back in the day with Sigourney Weaver and Arnold Schwarzenegger. To come back, and James Cameron writing it and Ridley Scott directing it to do a rated R Alien 5.
Wow.
And he turned it down for what? In favor of doing Alien versus Predator.
Because we can take characters from two franchises and merge them, and then we'll have
it's
two,
a guaranteed win.
Yeah.
Video games, toys.
Nobody wants to see old Schwarzenegger.
I've heard because they said apparently Alien vs. Predator was like easily marketable, easier to market, and they could do it PG-13. And that's a thing that made Ridley Scott be like, I don't want to fucking do movies at Fox anymore. Like, I don't want to work over there.
Yeah.
And that ended that sort of like relationship.
Yeah.
Cut to other things that he did is he apparently, when he was at Fox, was the executive that ensured that a lot of movies were cut to under 2 hours, so that it was that
get them in, get them out, get them out
to make more money during the
we can fit
theater day.
6 showtimes instead of 4.
So that old school Hollywood mentality.
He had rushed the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes, which made Tim Burton say, "I would rather jump out of a window than do Planet of the Apes 2." Like they wanted to do it. They wanted to move on a sequel for that, and it didn't happen. Like rushed Danny Elfman working on the score for that, and that made Danny Elfman upset. Made Die Hard 4, Live Free or Die Hard, rated PG-13 to be able to make more money, and it's like a famously rated R franchise. Rejected. Also did the same sort of thing to Daredevil, which was more of a rated R movie, kind of. The Daredevil.
Well, it's
not great.
Wasn't the
Ben
theatrical
Affleck.
release PG-13?
It was, but
and then the director's cut is R,
but it was
right?
apparently a harder sort of a rated. But he was somebody who was, hey, we got to make this more like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Make Daredevil more like Spider-Man, which is like,
Oops.
I get that, but it's
Not the same.
Yeah. Rushed X-Men 3. In hindsight, fine. He's a monster. Fired Bryan Singer. But then also, this dude hired Brett Ratner to do X-Men 3, and it's like, well, he's a huge piece of shit.
Oops.
Like, also, for X-Men 3, the idea was to put the Sentinels in the movie, and he was like, that's a dumb idea, the big giant robots. And then a few years later, the next year, Transformers was released and made a bunch of money. And he was Transformers was another franchise that like he had rejected at his studio. He also rejected the Deadpool
sewing the
idea,
mouth shut.
And he was the one to be like, yeah, we should sew his. And it's like, sew his mouth shut. And he also was the person that said, oh, Galactus should be a cloud in Fantastic Four 2. And then later we'll do a Silver Surfer movie with maybe like a fully realized Galactus. He was the person sort of in charge of the budgets for the Fantastic Four movies, which are not the highest.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's very clearly somebody who doesn't understand franchises, doesn't understand
but
adapting
does understand
properties.
Business.
Yes.
Yeah. And
like, original ideas potentially.
Cameron Rice was telling me, he goes, this is the guy you go to if you want to make money.
Right.
And if you want that stuff to all the numbers and everything to just work out.
Regardless of the product you get.
It's not quite, and again, not that he was also somebody who was responsible for like Slumdog Millionaire and all these movies that were award-winning good movies, and his record is really, really great and very it's just like a long Hollywood career. But again, you cannot help but hear those examples and go, yeah, he doesn't give a crap about
franchises, superheroes.
Hypothetical question.
The creative,
Adam, Sony hires you. You can put a team together. Would you put him on your team?
But the part of that hypothetical has to be, you've also got the power to turn this guy down.
Exactly.
That's not how those.
I know that's not how it works.
You have to be a,
but I'm
a
just
producer
saying,
as powerful.
Yeah.
For efficiency, maybe, but absolutely no creative control.
Okay.
None.
Sure. Okay.
None.
Just straight up numbers, bells and whistles. No bells and whistles.
But
just
not
no
sacrificing
creativity.
the art and the creativity for that. Yeah.
All right.
It's I can hear people right now responding or commenting like, "Hey, Hollywood is a business." That's the other thing that's been frustrating about this thing is that people go,
"Oh, everyone's a producer. You don't know that?"
Yeah, and we worked in a completely different part of the industry for a little bit, but the idea that people have to cynically remind fans of Spider-Man, be like, don't you know everything's made for money? It's like, yeah, no duh. Of course, movies are made this way. But
you mean I didn't have to pay for those movies that I just watched?
When you hear examples like this, I think that it immediately makes me draw comparisons with movies and movie series and movie franchises that I do love. Why do I love them? Because I think that they're like creatively fulfilling. Why do I think
Absolutely.
that?
And they're
Because
entertaining.
Right.
they're all these. Why do I like this thing, but then wasn't able to connect with
Right.
Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes
Sure.
and X-Men: The Last Stand and all these different things? And
Do you guys feel like whether it's 50-50, 25-75, 35-65,
right?
do you feel like Disney is in the right to come to Sony and say, hey, we would like to adjust this arrangement. We would like to come in and co-finance these movies to a certain percentage. And we'd also like to benefit from that because we have sort of reinvigorated this character and made him much more important.
I feel like they both, legally, Sony has the rights to all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so
And to say no.
at the end of the day, whatever is on paper and whatever is legally signed, that carries the weight at the end of the day. The fact that Disney has done something that nobody in cinematic history has ever done, the fact that we are privileged enough to have people, or we're lucky enough to have people making these movies who love these movies and at the end of the day care more about what the character represents than I guess the little kind of spats in between, like companies like this. I'm sure Disney has the best intentions. Feige has the best intentions for this character. We don't know, and it's all kind of fear-based that people are like, oh, well, all of a sudden Sony gets him, it's going to be bad. We don't know that it's going to be bad.
True.
It might be fantastic.
Absolutely.
But the fact that they're like – what? Amazing that's possible. So I feel like it's kind of I'm kind of torn in between the two, just because we don't have the full information of everything that's happening right now. So I can't really make a call. But I lost my train of thought.
Well,
there
it's let's
greedy.
try.
Is it greedy? Of
It's
them?
greedy. Is it greedy?
Think about it.
It's tough, man.
Think about it. You have a project that's failing.
Right.
And you come to me and you say like, hey, this project's failing. We don't really know how to turn around.
Right.
Would you be interested in coming on board? We'll give you 5% of whatever revenue we make, and and you can help us.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, let's do it. So you make one thing successful, you make another thing successful, you make a third thing successful.
Right.
Then I come to you and say like, hey, this is working out really, really well. Could we maybe adjust this partnership and make it a little mutually beneficial for both of us?
See, so here's the thing.
Kick the person out the door, or do you negotiate?
If it was you guys, if you guys were making a product for me, I'd be like, fuck yeah, because you guys are my friends. Like, you guys I trust. We have a good working relationship. So there would be no reason why I wouldn't be open to renegotiating. Obviously, nobody wants to be taken advantage of, clearly. Right. But at the end of the day, like, I would be open to show you guys the appreciation for the work that you have done for me, Right. Like, at the end of the day, recognize you for your great talents and the contributions you have made to whatever work you put in for me. But like I said, we don't know the ins and outs of this deal, so it
there's
could be
also
something completely different.
In those hypotheticals, there's not hundreds of millions of dollars at stake, which is a completely different thing.
And jobs and like all these things.
I'm so glad I never have to deal with that as part of my job, that somebody has to be like, dude, you got to make a call as to what, like how much this company makes hundreds of millions of dollars wise. I will say this, though. I think that in terms of just from what we've heard, whether it's accurate or not, that I would try to factor in the sort of merchandise side of it, and knowing how much power and how much clout Disney as an entity has versus what Sony has. If Sony is not making other products and other things that they can benefit from with Spider-Man outside of like the PS4 video game, which was hugely
successful. And
they just
acquired Insomniac Games.
They just bought Insomniac Games. So good for Sony that's also doing other stuff, and they're not just focused on one thing. Marvel Studios, owned by Disney, can just focus on the one thing, so that's their like advantage. I would factor all that stuff in, and I have no idea, for me personally, what I would consider to be fair in terms of numbers. I don't know.
These are amounts of money that I could never comprehend.
From the perspective of Sony, I understand Sony saying no, because it's the most lucrative, prosperous thing that they own right now.
When I hear that, I get it, but I also go, look, man, at what point does because y'all have had this character since 2002. Let's go back to Tobey Maguire for a second.
Well, technically, I think 99.
99.
But they didn't do anything.
First movie comes out 2002. Let's go back to early 2000s. Go back to Tobey for a minute. Imagine a hypothetical universe where the first Spider-Man movie, you go back knowing what you know about what these movies are today.
Happened, yeah.
You somehow travel through time. You go back to 2000, 2001.
That would be my Back to the Future story.
Yeah, you're like,
I would not go for the almanac. I would go for the rights to Marvel
superhero movies.
Amazing.
No, for real. And then go even further back and be like, I'm gonna buy Batman for
exactly.
$50,000.
1983.
Yeah,
Let's
and
go.
work on it.
All mine.
And
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson will be the Joker, and
Yeah.
it'll be
fantastic.
But you're in 2002. You go back in time. If you could make certain tweaks and changes, even to that first great movie, and I'm not saying it's not great, it is great.
Right.
But imagine if you could go back and make certain tweaks to make that movie even better.
To that level.
And more importantly, even more of this is the beginning of a universe.
Yeah.
And that is so successful and becomes such a behemoth.
Right.
And the planning and doing a post-credit scene that has Sam Jackson, Nick Fury,
Yeah.
and these types of things that are so smart for the long term that you cut to 2012, and on the Avengers, Toby Spider-Man comes swinging in because he's been playing the character for 10 years, and he's in his 40s. You know what I mean? Or like he's in his late 30s. It's like there's a universe where that happened because Sony would have handled that character so well. They would have hired the right people, and they would have done the right work so well that Spider-Man would have come out, changed the game. Spider-Man 2 would have been like Blockbuster plus the Fantastic Four. Like Spider-Man 3 would have been like, oh, then we got this.
It would have been Iron Man. It would have been their Iron Man.
It could have been their Iron Man.
Yeah.
And I don't want to knock a studio for like not doing that because it's such a rare, like the MCU is like we're established, it's such a rare thing. But Sony has also had 2 shots with this character in live action movies. 2 shots that both times. I'm not saying that Spider-Man 3 was bad enough that they had to reboot.
Right.
But
I
they
didn't think so,
did it.
yeah.
They decided
I say that.
They could have done Spidey 4.
Well, they were working on Amazing Spider-Man
and then
simultaneously.
and then for all of their reasons, they were like, we're just going to reboot it. Okay. Then you give me 2 more movies. You had another shot at bat. And then in 2014, the Sony email hack leaked happened. And by 2015, they announced, okay, we're going to work with. It's like, okay, you had 2 shots with the character.
Right.
Not to knock you not being able to do the impossible, but at what point does your studio's like creative direction get effectively dinged for like dropping the ball?
Right.
And does that factor into a deal like this where you acknowledge and go, yeah, you know what, Spider-Man, it should be both of us, not just us.
Right, exactly.
It should be, like, and again, if Sony's going, hey, we did Venom, I'll stop you right there. I don't think that's the same. And I still don't think Venom is a good movie, and it's so enjoyable, and I like it very much, and I own it on 3D Blu-ray because I imported that shit from Germany. So don't tell me I don't like Venom, and I'm like biased, anti-Venom. But that movie came out, anti-Venom. That's a character.
It is.
And has become a joke.
Yeah.
And people watch it the way they watch The Room.
Right.
'Cause
Yeah.
it's so bonkers.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so the movie made a bunch of money.
Yeah.
But it's like not.
We know other movies that have made a bunch of money are not good.
Exactly.
It's like not real. And Sony believes that we have Spider-Man characters, so
It's a Fugazi.
it's fine. We can do Morbius the Living Vampire.
Yeah.
We can do the Sinister
Like,
Six.
don't worry, guys, we got
and
this.
it's like
we
stop
got a
right
good
there.
Universe.
That would be as though Marvel Studios did an Iron Man movie, and then they did a WandaVision show, and you're like, whoa, what was that leap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did we
You
get
know?
there?
Right.
Or it would be as if they did Iron Man, then they did Masters of Evil,
Right.
and then they did a Mandarin movie not connected to Iron Man at all. It's
Right,
like, what are you
right.
doing? That's his archenemy.
Yeah.
No, it's his own
They're
his
like,
own thing.
Yeah, don't worry about that guy.
What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I will say that to point to Sony's past Spidey movies and to go, it's fine they did it then. What I wanted to say earlier was the fact that he's part of the larger Marvel universe, not just the movie universe, the comics. Spider-Man has always been from his beginning, 1962. His first issue, he shows up on the doorstep of the Fantastic Four. He's in Civil War. He's in Secret Invasion. He's in massive events.
He's in
He's in
everything, yeah.
crossovers.
Yeah.
He has relationships with all the major characters. He's been on the Avengers. He's been on he's been on the Fantastic Four. He has been on the the Future Foundation, which is different than the Fantastic Four. But anyway, he is a part of the universe in the same way that the X-Men are, in the same way that the Avengers are, in the same way that Iron Man is. You can take one of those characters and do a solo story, but they're still part of the thing. It would be as though you're doing a Lord of the Rings movie, and then you take Samwise, and he never mentions the Shire,
Right.
and you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What is this show?
He's a great character, but
Right.
that's not like
That's not how you develop this character.
Right, it's a part of the larger thing.
The ensemble piece.
And you can tell a Samwise focused story, but he's still part of a larger thing. And I feel that since 2012 especially, we've crossed the point of no return. with a lot of these characters, expectations,
Yeah.
and not just that, but again, people are looking for superhero stuff that now everybody gets it. Now everybody gets the shared universe thing. It was crazy before, and now it's like the norm. It's
Yeah.
the norm. So
Yeah.
people are looking for that with DC characters. People are
Right.
looking for that on
Star
television,
Wars,
and
everything.
cross over the Arrowverse, and where's
Yeah.
Black Lightning, and Star Wars, and it's changed Star Wars.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to bring up the example of, well, Spider-Man's work, blah, 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 and like that's a totally different thing. Well, Spider-Verse was great, yes, because part of its the reason it was so great is because it was its own thing. But that you can't reverse engineer that into the Tom Holland
Right.
Yeah.
as
Right.
he exists with the relationships that he has.
Exactly.
And
Right.
and just like port that over and be like, and now we're gonna do what we did
Now
with
we're just gonna
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse on.
Completely
Yeah.
different thing.
I don't think people understand that either. That the animation departments are even though it's still film, it's a very different department than
Yeah.
anything that they
Sony
could,
Pictures
that they could get their
Animation
hands
versus
on.
Sony Pictures
Right,
proper.
it's
Yeah.
completely different people. So
Yeah.
it's just those things don't interconnect. Not to say that there's never a chance that they could not do a good movie.
Right.
But it's a tough situation to think about. And honestly, at this point, all we can do is just wait for more news
You're
to
right.
drop.
You're right.
Really, we could speculate all day long,
Yeah.
but we really just need more news to drop. And at the end of the day, I'm feeling that everything's going to go back to normal.
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah.
gonna get him back.
That's all I can really hope for is like I hope that as fans we
Right.
get what we deserve,
Right.
which is a Spider-Man character that can interact with other characters
other
in a larger
characters,
universe. I hope that someday we could still see that character potentially interact with
Yeah.
characters like
Yeah.
Venom
Yeah.
and maybe other characters that are in that other universe, you
Right.
know,
I
do
hope-
their own live-action Spider-Verse.
Right.
Yes, I'd like to see just like an MCU Venom.
Yeah.
Like
Of
not to
course.
knock Tom Hardy, he was
Sure.
great, but that sort of thing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And also,
Right.
I would also hope along in that same vein that us fans, that we're not entitled, that we're
Right.
not using hashtag save Spider-Man from
Right.
Sony,
Yeah.
that we're
Right,
not
right.
tweeting at Sony and be like, you ruined it, because it's the same as like, you know.
Don't even
Not
say
gonna
it.
say
Don't
it. I'm
even
not
say
gonna-
it.
you know
Don't
exactly
even.
what
Don't
I-
even say. I knew where
Don't-
you were going.
It's a
Don't
thing of
even say it.
entitlement that
Yeah.
fandom has to deal with.
Right.
Feelings of entitlement. It's a real problem.
Don't even bring up the subject.
Don't
Adam,
even
I think
bother.
we need to end this subject with just a slow-mo video of us reacting to when Spider-Man came into
I
the
know.
MCU.
That was magic.
With like some real sad
That's the
music.
first time we like balloons and silly string and
Yeah.
it was good. That was a day. Isn't that crazy?
That
That
was
was already 4 years ago.
That's crazy.
4 years ago.
I remember when the news came out, Adam and I were like, we need silly string. We need
balloons.
We need
a
masks.
party. We need beer. We're celebrating.
But
It
you
was
notice
wild.
how we're still eating fruit now. This is not a wake. We're not mourning the death of
Yeah.
something. Like
No.
this is different.
We're
you know.
still
No.
We're still waiting for more.
Yeah.
We can't speak on anything
The story
until we
will
know
continue to develop.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
and you know maybe at the Walt Disney live action movie panel,
Right.
Maybe Kevin Feige will speak
Right.
on it. Maybe not at all.
Maybe not at all.
But it is worth mentioning the announcements that were made today at the Disney Plus Showcase. Disney Plus Showcase covered everything.
How long was it?
2 hours, and they covered everything from DComs to brand new shows, Lizzie McGuire coming back, all kinds of stuff. And then we got to Marvel, and that was very exciting because for a lot of people in that room and for a lot of people watching, I think the biggest question was, well, what are you announcing?
Right.
What are you bringing that you didn't bring to Comic-Con?
Right.
We saw some great expansions on some stuff like Marvel What If. We got to see some footage of Peggy Carter assuming the role of Captain Carter, where she has this awesome British themed uniform that very
Hell
much
yeah.
resembles Captain America's
Hell
suit.
yeah.
Captain America, or I should say Steve Rogers, Skinny Steve, has an awesome Mark I looking type of armor where he's fighting alongside Peggy.
That's
so
so
obviously
dope.
Howard Stark is still going to
Christ,
play a
man.
role in that. We got to see Bucky fighting zombies, Captain America.
That's so
Now,
crazy.
is that
So-
Bucky in that same thing?
in the Winter Soldier uniform.
So it was straight up
Oh.
Bucky with the arm, but fighting a zombie.
Yes, with the long hair and everything.
Wait, Bucky with the arm Winter Soldier? Oh,
With
that's
the long
In the-
hair.
it's probably
Yeah.
the Marvel Zombies universe.
Yeah.
Oh,
What
man.
else did we see? There was images of a
Watcher?
whole lot
Did
of
you
other
see
stuff.
The
Yeah, we saw
Watcher?
The Watcher. It's Jeffrey Wright doing the narration of The Watcher. Really, really great stuff. We saw some clips from other things, but not a lot of context, so it was hard. The Peggy Carter thing was the easiest to point out, along with Zombie Cap and Bucky, and then Haley Atwell was there, which was really, really cool.
Yeah.
But then, so they kind of went through all the stuff that we kind of know. They announced some new casting stuff. They announced Katherine Hahn is going to be joining WandaVision. They announced that Randall Park will be coming back as Jimmy Woo in WandaVision. Kat Dennings will be coming back as Darcy. for WandaVision as well. They gave us like a little bit of like I don't know, like a little bit of like a tease of the tone, and we had talked about in a previous episode where it definitely felt like, based on the logo itself and what they talked about, and how it's sort of it's leaning into this like 60s aesthetic and tone, that probably very likely it's going to lean into the Tom King run of Vision. And this footage that we saw,
next.
this footage that we saw, it had clips from the Dick Van Dyke Show. This very like 60s sort of like sitcom style, and it did say that the show will be half Marvel epic spectacle adventure, half of it is a sitcom tonally. So that's something new and unique and very, very different. That leans into very much sort of like the television classic TV vibe.
If y'all haven't read it yet, the Tom King Vision starts with, Wanda's a part of it, but not until later. It starts with Vision, who's alive, creating a robot family, a wife and 2 kids, and then they get a dog later to live in the suburbs. And he's trying to have a normal life.
Leave it to Beaver.
So I feel like, did Wanda reconstitute Vision? And she's like, I'm retired now. I have the love of my life. Did she go into a multiverse to get a Vision, bring him here? Which
Is she
leads
manipulating reality?
Which
which
in the
leads
TV?
into the what is it? The madness of the multiverse. Doctor Strange.
Multiverse,
Which could be like a House of M. Could be like where Scarlet Witch her sanity unravels.
A lot of M's in that. Maybe could be
House of Madness of the multiverse.
Madness.
And then the Tom King Vision thing is, it feels very like Leave It to Beaver, like in a fucked up dark way. So
well, what
it's
I'm
gonna
imagining
be,
is very much like a Stepford Wives kind of
Yes.
situation where like everybody's acting bright and cheery like those old TV shows,
You gotta
but
read
there's
that comic, dude.
there's an underlying tone of like, this shit is fucked up.
A little bit of like, this is unsettling.
Yes, there's
odd.
creepiness to it.
Yeah.
That makes me so excited, dude.
Yeah,
Me
so
too.
that's really, really cool. They brought out Falcon and Winter Soldier. Mackie and Sebastian Stan were there. They're great. They have great energy. They announced that Emily Van Camp is coming back. They also announced that Wyatt Russell is joining the show. Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn's son.
Oh, cool. Yeah, John Walker,
John Walker, that's what it is.
U.S. agent. Whoa, that classic
on.
classic Cap villain. He's more of like an anti-hero. He's
Gotcha.
somebody
Yo,
who
if
is
he
a
has that
replacement
eagle-shaped shield,
Yeah.
that would be amazing.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Good casting.
So, the 3 big things that they announced, new additions to Marvel Phase 4, which Kevin Feige did say at Comic-Con, this is the complete Phase 4. There are things that could be added. It's very possible. 3 brand new Disney Plus shows. The first one. What? You say it.
Wait, which order are we going to go in? In the document?
I have my order of my favorite to
Okay.
most favorite.
Oh, okay.
Oh, your order.
But everybody's gonna have a different order.
Yeah.
But we got to start with Moon Knight.
Yes.
Which was the first one on the list here?
Moon Knight,
Which
is-
was the second one they technically announced, but
Okay.
yeah.
But it's come on, the other two, come on, pretty big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah, it's a really big deal.
Yeah.
Moon Knight is also a very big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Spector is a fascinating character that has
Yes.
had some really good runs, but has never been a mainstream. People outside of comics
Yeah.
know or like or care about him. Now's the opportunity to do some really cool, almost like Netflix Daredevil style show stuff that Marvel Studios can do.
Right.
And I'm excited. And people were saying that this could be them filling in that gap because they don't have Daredevil. And I'm like, yeah, but Daredevil's great. Maybe Daredevil could appear on this show. Maybe Daredevil could appear on another show they announced, which would be very exciting.
But before that,
Do
you think
yes.
Kit Harington, they did announce that there was a Variety
Okay.
article that Kit Harington
yes.
could be playing somebody.
I've been going back and forth in this. Kit Harington, Game of Thrones, was cast as somebody in the MCU. I clicked. I'm like,
Secret.
who? They haven't announced it yet. Honestly, out of all the characters that have it, like major characters that haven't been cast yet, I don't see him as any of them.
Yeah.
People were like, he could be Mark Spector. I'm like, not feeling it. People were like, he could be Namor, the Submariner. And I'm going, no. I kind of wanted like a really hot, ripped, tall Asian guy. Preferably with a British accent.
To be Moon Knight?
To be
I was going to say
Namor.
Yoshi
To be
Sudarso,
Namor.
but
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
Yoshi
honestly,
Sudarso,
like a
yeah.
Yoshi. Like
He doesn't
that
have the
kind
British
of,
accent, but yeah.
He could pull it off.
He
But
could pull it off.
but that's sort of like presence. Not
Yeah.
that Kit Harington doesn't have it, but he's definitely more like scruffy.
Right,
So then people are going Wolverine, and I'm going, no,
Hey,
not
no.
feeling it.
Uh-uh.
Wolverine is a tricky character, as
Yeah.
you know, and I'm going, you know what? I know Tom Holland was an actor in a couple of motion pictures and maybe even just one movie, and then like some theater stuff and stuff before Civil War, but nobody knew. Of Tom Holland before Civil
Unless
War.
you saw The Impossible with Ewan McGregor.
Right, at the level that
Yeah.
everybody knows him
Right,
now.
Of course.
He's global
Um,
now, yeah.
I'm like, I think they got to do the same thing with Wolverine. They cannot just get
Absolutely.
a big actor. They have
Right.
to get like the perfect actor.
right.
And I don't think it's Kit Harington.
No.
And then I was I through all of this, I'm like, dude, I don't know who he could be. So then I was thinking, but here's the thing, though. Marvel Studios casting has not let me down once.
Sarah Haley Finn.
So Sarah
good.
Haley Finn, who in my mind has gotten 10 honorable Oscars at this point. 10
Hector
10
Oscars.
special
That's right.
Oscars.
10 hectares.
Sarah Finn Haley. So I would say Sarah Haley Finn.
Haley Finn, yeah.
I would say I basically just trust it, and whoever they, because I think about the audition process for Tom Holland as Spidey.
Right.
Yeah.
That we didn't hear about till after, and I'm
Right.
like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
First audition with RDJ.
Yeah.
Whoever Kit is playing, I know it's going to be awesome, but I
Yeah.
just could not see him as any of those characters.
Okay.
Next show.
Wait. We got to go with the last one for Hector, but the next show is Miss Marvel.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
the order.
Yeah.
Miss
That is the
Marvel.
order,
baby.
See?
That's the order.
Guys, we've been friends for way too
That's
long.
right. That's
I
right.
know.
Way
We
too
know.
long.
We know.
Kamala
Next show,
Khan.
yeah,
Yeah.
Kamala Khan takes her namesake from Captain Marvel.
Yes.
Has stretchy kind of bendy powers
Yep.
like Mr. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Teenage, is it
Pakistani American, yeah.
American person living in the United States?
In New Jersey.
Yeah, right? Okay.
Yep.
This is going to be a great character to have,
Oh, my
dude.
God.
People have been dying for this. The only other character that has this hard of a die-hard followship or people following her is Squirrel Girl.
Agreed.
I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if like a Squirrel Girl show popped up
It was
next
supposed
year.
to. It was supposed to.
Right, exactly.
Milana Vaintrub. Where's
But-
that
Yeah,
show?
yeah.
I'll watch it.
This is exciting news because
Yeah.
it's another young actor that we can get
Mm-hmm.
into these roles that we can develop, and it has to be once again, I think, a no
Yes.
name
Oh, for
actor
sure.
at this point to
For
play
sure.
this character.
It's I really hope that they like I know that Mindy Kaling has expressed
Her
interest
and Riz
in,
Ahmed.
and
Yeah.
like working on it.
Yeah.
And
They
like being
should.
a producer for
Right,
it.
they should.
But they have a showrunner
Yes.
who I'm not familiar with their work yet, but they're a writer comedian by the name of
Bisha K. Ali.
yeah, I thought I wrote it down.
It's right
Yeah,
there.
it's Bishop
Oh,
K.
there we
Ali.
go.
Right
Bishop
there.
K. Ali. Very excited that I thought, again, just like how I thought that Monica Rambeau, who we saw in Captain Marvel as a little girl, was going to be grown up later in like Captain Marvel 2.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were going to get Miss Marvel until Captain Marvel 2 or
Right,
3,
right.
and it's like TV show. And I'm
Right.
like, this is way sooner than I expected.
Right.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. It's going to be great.
And Feige talked about that the character that will be established at Disney Plus on a TV show
Yes.
will also cross over into the movies.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
that's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Very excited.
Then
The most exciting.
the last announcement,
mean-
which I will say,
Yeah.
we talked about on an episode how cool it would be if in a Spider-Man 3, you mentioned it,
yeah.
if Peter Parker got Matt Murdock to be his lawyer going up against this character. What is this final show they announced?
Jennifer Walters, a.k.a.
Motherfucking She-Hulk.
She-Hulk, y'all.
She-Hulk, y'all.
She-Hulk. Very excited that it's going to be a show. I'm just thrilled just because I love the character. Like, having said that, I still love that they're doing Moon Knight as a show because that's one of the again, that's another great Marvel property that I think could be the lead of something
Yeah.
versus like it's just a supporting character. I'm like, go for it. And also Miss Marvel, thrilled that show's happening. I just personally love She-Hulk so much, and I love the potentiality of that character.
Yeah.
So much.
I don't think that she'll go full on fourth wall breaking, but I think that she will be so funny, and it will be a great. Because again, we've talked about this before. I think Mark Ruffalo Hulk's going to go to a dark place.
I'm telling you.
He was in a light place.
Guys.
I think he's going to go to a darker place. And I think Mark Ruffalo's Bruce could show up in the show, obviously.
Yes.
And I feel that to counterbalance that in a way to say goodbye to Mark, the same
Right.
way that Chris Evans and Robert Downey, we said goodbye to them this past year.
Right.
They could work towards having a really nice send-off for Ruffalo. This is the sort of replacement Hulk,
Right.
but like her own totally different brand of character.
Yes.
The type of character that should be on the Avengers forever.
Right.
Could even be in a Fantastic Four movie, but
Right.
like she is such an Avenger character to
an
me.
asset
An
to
asset.
the universe.
I love her personality. I love the fact that she is Smart Hulk before Bruce Banner was Smart Hulk.
Right,
Do you know what I mean?
right,
That's how
right,
she's
right,
always been. So imagine the fun we had in Endgame with Banner being, I'm wearing shorts now,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
the whole time with the great like comedic,
Right.
actor,
right.
actor who could do it, an actress who could
Right.
pull that
Yeah.
off. Jennifer Walters, it's so exciting, dude.
This,
so exciting.
This just it makes me more firm in my belief that the Hulk will be a major threat. It'll be an
Me too.
Avenger. Hulk will be an Avengers level threat in one movie or a couple of movies because his arm is destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to perform gamma radiation experiments on himself to regenerate. He's gonna go crazy. Who's the only other person who can stop him? Who's the only other person who is maybe giving him a blood transfusion and like the blood mixed up together and they got like, she got some Hulk powers.
So instead of in the comic books, Jennifer being shot
Right.
in a drive-by shooting in L.A. because
Right.
she's a lawyer defending somebody, and it was like a mob case.
Right.
And Bruce Banner, having to save his cousin's life. You're thinking she'll do a blood transfusion
She'll
for
try
him?
to help him.
Interesting. And
He'll
being
go
normal,
nuts.
but then she'll get some of that.
She'll get some of that Hulk blood. She'll become She-Hulk. But I'm really hoping they're going to go for a World War Hulk situation in which he cracks Manhattan in half with his fists. He's so mad that he punches the ground and cracks Manhattan in half.
I know
completely.
that Disney has avoided doing a solo Hulk movie up to this point because of, speaking of Marvel and
Yes.
Sony,
More rights, y'all.
because of a Universal deal. And I don't want – I'm not saying this because I want Disney to have more power. That's not the thing. In my mind, though, they already have this franchise. They already have Marvel.
Play in it.
So I'm hoping at this point that in a way to say goodbye to Ruffalo, because you just said it, dude, and it's such a good title. It would suck to never get that.
Yeah.
We never got Planet Hulk,
Right.
which is also a great title for a movie. We got a little piece of it in Thor. But if it was just a movie release like 5 years from now called World War Hulk.
Oh, my God.
Oh my! And it's like all the characters are in it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that
Fucking-
Comic-Con panel?
fucking Miss Marvel.
Yeah,
is-
crazy.
She's like Miss
Like
Marvel's
Miss
there.
Marvel?
Like I'm 15. What about
Yeah,
everyone's just
exactly.
like, hey, he's lost it.
Guys,
And
he's
it's-
lost it. We
That's
don't want to
what-
kill him,
that's
but
what the
we
whole
kind of
movie
have
is.
to.
I mean, if you think about it, sort of the trajectory of these movies, it's always been building them out against a villain.
Right.
Yes.
What if it has to build, and we've had Civil War, obviously,
Yeah.
but what if
Yes.
it's like building up towards a
could.
friend?
Right, that's
and an
because
ally?
like Civil War was great because it was a very much internal fight.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a situation where they might have to take Mark Ruffalo out completely. Like I would not with
bums me out.
the events of Endgame.
Cure him. Just
Endgame,
cure him.
Try to cure
can't.
him.
You can't.
You can't cure him
You can't.
though. He's
Yeah.
not curable. That's the thing. So I think they're just gonna have to take him
There's so
out.
many.
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
do you guys remember those moments in the comics where, first of all, in the Ultimates, they put Banner in like a helicarrier by himself,
Yeah,
Banner,
yeah.
and put him in the middle of the ocean and
Right.
straight up dropped an atomic
Yeah.
bomb on him, and
Yeah.
he lived.
Yeah.
Which is like, that would be an incredible trailer.
Right,
Can you imagine that? If
exactly.
Ruffalo wakes up like, what's going on? What did
Yeah.
I do? What
Yeah.
happened? And then it's just,
Yep.
and he like lived.
And the Hulk comes out of that
Yeah.
explosion.
Oh my God. Or
come
cut
on.
to this. The scene that happened right before the comic book Civil
Yeah.
War, where the Illuminati tricked Banner into
Right.
put him into a
ship.
satellite
Yeah.
to get him off of the or because he destroyed Vegas,
Right.
and that's why they decided to do that. But they kind of can't do that because he already went up in a Quinjet
Yeah.
and ended up
Yeah.
in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of that
That's-
story.
that's
but
that story, yeah.
God, man,
Guys, this is the Hulk's going to be an Avengers level threat for sure. Now, I'm glad that we have that term
Yeah.
now because now we can use
know,
it. Like it's
I
a
know.
An
really good
Avengers
term.
level threat.
Yeah, exactly.
know.
It's
I'm
an
also
Avengers level threat.
yeah.
I'm also like and we're not going to talk about it, but just in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, how do the rights with Universal and Hulk work?
I know.
You know?
I know.
'Cause
I
it's always-
assume-
Universal's probably just
you know
like,
what?
well, yeah, dude, whatever you want.
I think, well, we were talking about this before. I think it's the same as Spider-Man.
Yeah,
where
it must
like
be.
Marvel has television rights, which is why years ago we heard
Yeah.
rumors that Guillermo del Toro was doing a Hulk
Right.
TV show.
Right.
And
Bill
people are
Bixby
like,
style, yeah.
is it
Yeah.
going to have Ruffalo in
Right.
it? And Guillermo was saying like, it's very ambitious. I'm very excited about it. It could go. It could happen.
Yeah.
But nothing ever came of it. But like, I think Marvel's always had the TV rights. It's
Absolutely,
the movie.
yeah.
It's the movie thing. But
Yeah.
all of this to say too, I'm so excited about Jennifer Walters, She-Hulk. It'll
absolutely.
be like a lawyer show.
Absolutely, yeah.
Hopefully Matt Murdock shows up in it. Let's figure out those Netflix contracts. Hey, Disney,
it happen, baby.
put some of your goddamn evil lawyers to good work, figuring that out, getting Charlie Cox over.
back.
Sign
Get-
that boy up.
Get Foggy Nelson come over.
Yep.
Nelson and Murdoch, get him up
Deborah
in
Ann
the show.
Wool.
This
Deborah,
is
sure.
Hector
The
signing-
whole
Deborah
damn
Ann- This
thing.
is Hector signing the contract.
And if you're doing
Just
that,
throw in John Bernthal.
listen, get some Johnny Bernthal in there.
And get some Vinny D'Onofrio.
Mike
There you go.
Coulter. Oh, Vinny D'Onofrio.
Check.
Let's bring over some Jessica Jones,
Some Carrie Ann Moss.
Carrie Ann Moss.
My God.
Here's the Iron Fist contract. Crumple. Throw it over your
And
shoulder.
then Kevin
Throw it
Feige,
over your
then Kevin
shoulder.
Feige goes,
Yeah.
hold on.
Hold on. He's like, let me
I
rewrite
think
this.
I got
I can
this.
make something good
I
out of
got
this.
this, pendejos.
I can hang on. Iron Fist and Luke Cage.
And Luke Cage.
Put your hands
Maybe
together.
we can make it work.
You got
Heroes
some PB and
for
J
hire.
right there. Heroes for
That's
hire.
some sweet
Is
Christmas.
the show right there.
Oh, my God.
Boy, oh boy.
So very exciting. A lot of really great stuff that was
man.
announced. We'll find out tomorrow what happens in the live action movie panel. Will we get additional movies added to Phase 4? Who knows?
Yeah.
It could be a very exciting day tomorrow.
I will eagerly be watching your tweets, Adam.
Yeah.
I will be
It's gonna be
tweeting.
fun.
I will be tweeting like a madman.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it'll be really fun. But let us
Right.
know in the comments below what you thought about all the announcements, what you think about the Spider-Man deal. Everyone's been asking our opinions. You have our opinions. Let us know what you think down below. Is Disney an evil corporation? Is Sony scared, or do they have the upper hand? I don't know. You tell us what you think, and make sure you guys subscribe. And look out for more videos because it's going to be crazy. So thank you so much for watching. We have a trailer reaction coming up for The Mandalorian, so check that out. And I don't know, we talked about the Obi-Wan Kenobi show last week, and they didn't reveal anything.
It's no
So
new news.
it's happening officially. There you go.
Blurb. That's it.
We'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.